TV. We have with us Finance Minister Mr. Arun Jaitley to explain to us some of the features of his budget. Welcome to our show, Mr. Jaitley. Finally, try to balance between inflation, growth, and other constituencies that you had to look at. Now, how did you do it with limited resources? What was your thought process?
I think there were several challenges. This being the first budget of the government had to be more than an accounting exercise. And therefore the first challenge was you outline the policy of the new government as to how do we deal with a challenging situation. I won't call it crisis, but it's certainly challenging. Now there were a lot of decisions on the drawing board. The previous government couldn't take them. There were some decisions which went awfully wrong. The retrospective taxation, for instance. There were some which they were a little reluctant to take. Defense. Now, I had to first decide what these policy areas are. So, with an open mind, I had a discussion, and these were no rocket science, these were known to everybody.
So, you had to prioritize, yeah.
So, I had to prioritize. So, I first gave the state of the economy. We were candid about the facts. The challenge, therefore, you have to find a solution. And these are the first 10, 12 issues you have to resolve. And this is my response to each one of them. Some responses were absolutely clear, and I think there were no two views. In some, two views were possible. I can tell you I couldn't have done it till I had the full support of the Prime Minister behind me, and also our alliance colleagues. So each one of them, I've had 2 meetings in 1 month with the state chief finance ministers, and only 1 or 2 small issues on GST remain. If we can pay them their CST compensations, I think we can move ahead.
So you say GST is more or less sorted out, is it?
Substantially sorted out. There are 1 or 2 state restricted issues. They want 2 items to be kept out. For the present, I'll keep them out.
So like 2 items, like petroleum or?
Petroleum and entry tax. So if I can't get the best GST, I'll get a good GST.
Yeah, if you get real estate, it's a huge success.
That's what I'm saying. So one has to be a little pragmatic about it. But I have to pay their CST compensations, which is pending for the last 4 or 5 years. So now we'll make, when the revised estimates come up, I'll make efforts to get that money.
And the rate, GST rate?
We'll decide that.
Say around 16%?
No, we'll decide that. Then you have to come down to issues like tax administration. On retrospective tax, it's a vexed issue. What do you do with regard to the past? I was not participating in a television discussion that I could just give a stand and be done with. Therefore, for future, ordinarily no. For the past, no new notices. There is a procedure outlined.
And a committee.
And whatever has gone to court, let the courts or the arbitrators resolve this. And I'm sure they'll also resolve it expeditiously so that we can put it behind us. Then you had the FDI decision, defense. Now we somehow thought that this is a holy cow, but I am buying from foreign governments, from foreign companies. Why can't I take the help of foreign companies to set up an Indian company with majority Indian shareholding in India? Insurance, I'm sure the Congress party will take a constructive attitude and we can work it out in Parliament. Cities, real estate, the REIT, the trust structure, it didn't work in this country because you didn't give a pass-through tax rebate. So I decided to give it.
Yeah, can I say, a lot of industry people were saying that the pass-through still has some problems because the company from which the cash flow goes to REITs still pays a double.
No, it doesn't. My understanding is we can work that out.
Okay.
So the idea is for setting up a trust, you don't undertake a difficult tax reality because it's an alter ego of the company that they are setting up the trust. So you move in that direction. Can you then experiment this in infrastructure? What do you do with regard to domestic investors who are saying, give me the advance ruling on tax? So somebody who invests, let's say, beyond 500 or 1,000 crores, can we think of doing that? What do you do with this maze of litigation on transfer pricing which is pending? So I specified all that.
Also tax is under dispute.
These are taxes under dispute. Yeah. Okay. So people are not investing because they are scared of your tax administration. So you had to give confidence and address this as an issue. I don't lose money by all this, but I am now creating a favorable environment. Then comes what is my approach with regard to the present crisis. Do I keep the tax slab raised for manufacturing in the hope that those who invest will give me higher tax? Well, if the tax slab is high, they won't invest, so I won't get any tax. So I lower the taxes. Manufacturing growth is flat, so I lower the taxes, take a little hit in the hope that manufacturing will expand and I'll more than cover up for it. Individual taxpayer investment, 100 crore or more, there are not so many projects, so I bring it down to 25 crores. I extend the date. Power sector, you need people to invest, so I extend the date. Inverted duties, I correct those aberrations. Individual taxes. Now I raise taxes on excise only with regard to commodities injurious to health. So that's a class.
Tobacco, etc.
So it's cigarettes, it's soft drinks, it's pan masala and things of this kind. One tax that I raised in regard to, I changed two procedures with regard, one is the mutual funds. But we found the large corporates using mutual funds for hedging. They were meant for small investors, they weren't meant for large corporates. So one had to stop that misuse as far as mutual funds is concerned. And then after I got out of this, what do I do with the individual taxpayer? With this level of inflation, I make people in a limited income bracket, salary bracket pay so much. Well, I can tell you, it's for me and a large number of us in my party and the government, we want that section to have more money to spend and incentivize saving. So initially I started with a choice, should I do A or B or C? And finally I calculated, all three cost me an X amount. I can raise some amount by raising some indirect taxes.
And then some saving incentive also.
And some saving incentives which will come back. So as a first step, I raise it by 50,000. Normally in India, tax slabs are not raised by 50,000 at a time. So 2 becomes 2.5. For senior citizens, it becomes 3 lakh. 80C gives you relief across the board, small or big. But then it helps you to save and brings your investments back into the system to be used. And then housing.
So this also attacks inflation to some extent, you said.
This attacks inflation. People will spend less because they are saving more. People are investing in real estate housing for an apartment. And hopefully if at some stage the Reserve Bank moderates the interest rates, we should go back to a situation where the interest saving and the payment of an installment, the EMI, becomes lesser than rent.
So with the promise of a 4.1 fiscal deficit, which is a good figure, you hope that the RBI will respond to
4.1
your move?
I've been more than honest with regard to 4.1. I called it a daunting task. When you have such challenging
circumstances. And you have been generous to your predecessor also by endorsing this figure.
You see, I have to fight the growth rate. I don't have to fight my predecessor. So why should I get into a side battle unnecessarily, even in the economic survey?
That was okay before the elections.
No, I'm quite happy, and I'm very glad Mr. Chidambaram responded very positively by saying that the economic survey is a more realistic economic document. We haven't allowed it to become a political document. So far, in this country, we've avoided that temptation. And then with regard to these excellence institutions, in each category we create 3, 4, 5, and I've distributed them across the states. Therefore, I have not said the BJP states will get more and the others will get less, and it's really been related to the reality. So does Jharkhand need a medical institute? Does Bengal need it more, let's say, than Delhi? And of course they do. And therefore, I've been more than fair. So my broad approach was not to get into big ideological disputes at this stage. I keep state governments, I show my fairness to them. So nobody has a ground to come up and disturb the budget saying my state has been ignored. I don't enter into disputed areas. So the best you could say, why defense? But I have more than a good case for defense, FDI. And therefore move on that area. And amongst the opinion making classes, give them some comfort.
On the inflation front, you have also spoken about using the food stocks that the government has and other means to insulate the poor and the vulnerable. And the economic survey, as you rightly said, admits that there is a downside risk on account of drought. How do you see these risks?
I don't have a control over that.
Yeah.
And therefore, if it does have, we have twice the buffer stocks. And therefore, we can release some of the buffer stocks and take care of the deficit areas. But it's still, we are still in the second week of July. Let's wait for a few days more before we eventually know whether it's a belated monsoon or an inadequate monsoon.
And Mr. Jaitley, you have made the right noises about lifting manufacturing investments and infrastructure, etc. But if one looks at the ground reality, a lot of these investments are locked up in dispute, between institutions, judiciary, CBI inquiring into a number of coal blocks. Now, is there a need for all these institutions to sit together and figure out how some of these can be released for actual production? Isn't that a challenge?
It is. It is. You see, if you have a situation in a country where one institution says that I am cancelling all licenses in an infrastructure area, the other institution says I am going to prosecute all the amongst the 20 senior captains of industry. The third one says I'll decide to raid them for tax or for enforcement. Then people will flee this country rather than invest in this country. We've tried to provide a fair tax regime. And I think along with authority, if people break the law and outrightly break the law, commit an act of fraud, they must be held accountable. But then in cases where more than one view is possible, to go out of the way and harass people, I think is not a prudent policy.
So how can this whole sentiment be changed? Because I saw the Supreme Court, some of these blocks are, the CVC assets should be investigated. CBI is saying, why don't we release some of the blocks where Ps have been filed? The Supreme Court is saying no, telling CVC.
Well, I think blocks is a complicated case. The way they were allocated, I think the allocating authority should have been more responsible. It's been a gross case of nepotism. Therefore, some scrutiny is required, and therefore one has to go back to a larger debate on how our natural resources to be distributed. You keep elements of discretions. In India, we still haven't reached a stage of maturity. Discretions are meant to be misused.
So then we do come to the question of how resources, if you're saying, well, I don't debate, do we have time to debate now as to how coal,
well, I would say if whatever are left out of the system, let's start with them and maybe auction them.
Auction them, okay.
At least there is no discrimination, there is no allegation of corruption. So whenever your 3G was auctioned, nobody said corruption.
And now coming to your budget numbers, you have, how much have you provided for disinvestment? Because the non-tax revenue head says
I don't remember the exact figure, but it's in the vicinity.
90,000 crore, over 90,000 crore.
It's in the figure, it's in the range of about 50,000 crores, the disinvestment figure.
Okay.
You will want to know, I didn't mention it in my speech.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to give too many opportunities in my speech for people to stand up and because if you found nothing else to disturb, I think this could have been a possible ground. Therefore, it's a policy of the UPA government. They've shortlisted a few PSUs and they've said they'll pick up 5% here and 7% here and divest. For the present, I'm continuing with the same policy.
So, so do you feel that your revenue projection is a bit ambitious because it's the same as
it will depend
it's the same as the interim budget's revenue projection?
No, I have said so. In fact, I haven't concealed the fact. I have said my predecessor picked it at 4.1. It's daunting, it's challenging, but I'll take the challenge. And I've kept a little room that supposing it goes vary by a 0.1 or something. So I'm not making it a prestige issue. Knowing that it's very challenging, I'll try and meet that challenge. I'm not starting with a failure. I'll rather try. In fact, I used a phrase that one only fails when one stops trying. Therefore, if you don't have a bad monsoon and you are able to expand economic activity in manufacturing, get your investors back, and if from 5.5 you start moving up to 6%, then probably this becomes a great opportunity for us.
Higher GDP solves all other problems.
Higher GDP solves all other problems. I'll have more money to spend on social sector schemes.
You know, the other question that comes to mind is you have set a very ambitious fiscal deficit target for the next 2 years also. You plan to go to 3%.
You see, if I have 4.1 this year, then 4.6 is doable. 3.6 is doable. Therefore, you move in that direction. We moved in that direction in the past when we had a higher GDP growth.
No, but I'm comparing your path with the BJP manifesto, which clearly says that BJP will universalize food security program, go beyond what the UPA went, right? And a whole lot of other social sector schemes.
There are ideal situations and there are doable situations. As of today, I am in a doable situation.
Okay. Like, you know, Mr. Modi also has said in Parliament that by 2022, he would strive to give every household roof above their heads, that is housing, 24/7 water, 24/7 power.
It's a stiff target.
Shiksha. Now all this, it will require state spending on all these issues.
You have to have a stiff target, and therefore you have to get the system in order to reach that target. And if at the end of the day you say, I have covered so much, it's better than not trying at all.
Yeah, sure. So you can achieve it, but to achieve this, you will have to seriously rationalize existing subsidies. You're giving about 4.5 lakh crore towards food, fertilizer, oil subsidies. Now, you have said in the economic survey that you'll rationalize them.
You see,
how would you rationalize them?
We have appointed the Expenditure Management Commission.
Yeah, that Expenditure Commission.
And the Expenditure Commission will now make recommendations. So the Prime Minister, contrary to what some of my friends feel, is taking a look at Aadhaar with some changes.
Exactly, because there was some report that you won't use Aadhaar, but...
he's looking at it subject to some changes. And if you can save some 20-30% by just weeding out the ineligible, then probably that's what you're saving.
In fact, my information is that Gujarat is doing Aadhaar enrollments actually faster than other states. Is that right? So you would use Aadhaar and direct...
So the Prime Minister is having a look at it. He's dealing with it directly.
Okay.
And I was present in the meeting and he looked at it with an open mind.
So you're saying that use of Aadhaar for direct cash transfer is not is on the table, not ruled out.
It's not ruled out.
So how much subsidy do you project?
I can't give you the figures, but the entire amount mentioned this year, I hope it's spent, because most of the states have still not prepared the list.
Okay, the states, the socio-economic survey, the beneficiaries list, right?
Beneficiaries list.
So in principle, are you going for targeting or are you going for more universal subsidies?
Let us see. We'll have to weigh the resources we have, and I think subsidies reach the ones who need them the most.
Okay, so that will be the attempt. And what about the interest rates? You know, the people who want to take housing loans, they feel that current interest rates are very high.
I think we have to see how much we are able to contain inflation. What's the movement? And then the Reserve Bank takes a view. With this relief that I have given on housing loans in terms of the tax policy, if we are able to extend this relief a little through lower EMIs because of interest rates, I think the housing sector can be back with a bang.
Now, I want to ask you a political economy question. A lot of people, when Mr. Modi came to power with the huge mandate, people said that Mr. Modi will be more like Thatcherite or Reaganite, will be right-wing. But do you think you can put Mr. Modi in a category? Because he would...
see, I'll tell you.
When I see your manifesto, it seemed more like a BJP version of socialism. Also could be.
See, I'll tell you, can you in India rely only on market economy, higher growth rates, to get rid of poverty? Or would you not the enriched state with larger money in its pockets to give some resource to the weaker sections?
I would agree with you.
So you will require a combination of both.
Yeah.
And therefore, whether it's the BJP or Mr. Modi, it will have to be a combination of both. Where the UPA went wrong was, they thought of the latter, but didn't earn enough to support the latter. They didn't earn enough.
Or they earned for 5-6 years, but they lost track later.
They lost track later. And if their decision making had been more expeditious, if they had continued to chase the particular direction, which was the correct direction, they could have achieved a lot more. They couldn't do it. And I think Mr. Modi is fairly decisive. That's a natural advantage
he keeps repeating that Sarkar ka khazana garibon ke liye hai. It's almost like categorical statement.
Both as policy and as tactic, it's the right thing to do.
Okay. And in recent times, your colleague Mr. Piyush Goyal has been saying in regard to the power sector, which is a big driver of growth, he's been saying that there's a lot of inefficiency in the power sector and there's a lot of scope to reduce costs and still give power to people at lower rates. Now, how do you look at this? Because
it sounds a wonderful idea, but now that I'm free from the budget, I certainly start sitting with him a little more and plan.
Because costing is an issue which occurs in other sectors also, whether
obviously
it's gas or whether it is
it also hikes your costs up.
Yeah, and recently if you saw a CAG report said that oil companies claim that they lost 50,000 crore in the last 5 years, but actually they made a profit of, that oil companies were losing money, but actually they made 50,000 crore profits. Now, how do you read that? Is costing in our country so non-transparent? Why can't we figure out what is the cost of gas or coal or oil? I mean, why are we so helpless about costs?
More candid about our disclosure norms.
So you think we need to do much more transparent costing?
These are not state secrets. In fact, this is the least people must know.
Yeah, because people want to know, because the resources belong to the people. What are the costs at which... And finally, Mr. Jaitley, now, what will be your, this budget, of course, you made it in 6 weeks and you tried to sort of put together a balanced budget. People were expecting a big bang. Now, expectations are always much higher than what you can deliver. Your next budget, 2014, can we expect that will be a bigger bang budget?
No, you are not going in for bangs. You are going in for realistic situations. You see, giving a big bang idea in the course of a television discussion is one aspect. Implementing it as an institution is quite another. And therefore, most issues which were on the table, I have tried to deal with them. There are some which will be, and I have said this is not the end of the journey, this is the beginning of the journey, and therefore it indicates a direction.
Okay. And the agriculture sector, I mean, this market stabilization fund.
It's a market stabilization fund is a modest effort.
Yeah.
It's a modest effort because
crore, right? Yeah.
It's 500 crores, so that if one particular commodity like onions today, the prices go haywire, then you intervene and buy onions worth 5 crores and put them into the market. You see, that's the object of the fund. But then there is a lot more in agriculture in terms of irrigation, in terms of support to the farmer and so on, in terms of rural infrastructure. Separately, we've tried to address each one of those issues.
And Mr. Modi's big focus is on agriculture, making the farmers, giving them freedom, economic freedom, which you mentioned in the economic survey.
And giving them freedom so that they have multiple options to sell their products to.
Okay, so there will be for that you'll have to work with the state, because many of these things are under
obviously you'll have to work with the states, and I'm sure the states are as interested in growing faster than we are.
Finally, the single GST rate, could you give us some indication? Will it be
I can't do it. It needs extensive discussion with the states, and therefore I don't want to make an announcement before we reach anywhere.
Thank you very much for talking to us, Mr. Arun Jaitley.